Welcome to QGLU TV. My name is Stanley Reed, board member of Queens Gays and Lesbians United, otherwise known as QGLU. I'd like to introduce you to our co-chair, John Azali.
Hi. Tonight we have some very special footage we'd like to share with you. At the end of April this year, our producer was in Washington, D.C. for a very special event called the March on Washington. We have some footage on the youth rally and on the march itself, and we'd like to share that with you. So let's roll tape.
Ricky Wilchins is the executive director of Gender PAC, which is a national organization fighting against gender oppression. They're based out of New York, and Ricky was kind enough to come down here and want to speak. Like I said, she wrote a book called Read My Lips, which I think is one of the most fantastic books I've ever read. She's a gender activist and an all-around fabulous lady. Let's hear it for Ricky Wilchins.
That was wonderful. My name is Ricky Wilchins, and I am the Executive Director of Gender PAC. Gender PAC is the national organization working to ensure every American's civil right to express their gender orientation free from stereotypes, discrimination, and violence. I am here today to tell you there will soon be a national movement for gender civil rights. This movement will not ask if we are gay or lesbian, bisexual, transgender, intersex, or straight. In fact, it will not be based on the familiar divisions of identity politics at all, but instead will ask us to build bridges to one another instead of burn them. It will finally be a movement that is as rude and messy and complicated and robust as the lives we lead, the challenges we face, and the scars that we bear. There is going to be a unified national movement for gender civil rights in this country, in this century, and it will not come from people like me. It will come from people like you. It will come from today's youth. You are not the next generation. You are the generation. God, you folks are easy. Because you are the first generation to come up with both the political activism and the theory to actually change things so we don't build yet another identity-based movement that leaves all the rest of us out in the hall asking to get in. Let me share with you for a moment what that movement will look like. It will mean that you and I will no longer need fear walking down the streets because we dress too provocative or too sexually. It will mean our gay male friends will no longer have to worry being seen as too flamboyant or perhaps even too queer. It will mean lesbians will no longer be yanked out of women's rooms or face the hostile stares on the streets because they look a little too butch that day. It will mean that our sons will be able to play with dolls, and our daughters will be able to play with our sons, and not be taunted as sissies, tomboys, or queers. It will mean that 3- and 4-year-old children will no longer be diagnosed with gender identity disorder and treated as a psychiatric illness because they didn't fit convenient gender stereotypes. And it will mean that transgender identified people will no longer have to be diagnosed in order to get the medical care that they need and want and deserve. It will also mean that queer youth will not get harassed at home, in the streets, and in the schools because they like to have buzz-cut purple hair, hip-hop clothes, and 3 bull rings in their nose. It will also mean that some of you will explain to some of me why you guys want to look like that. It will also mean our hospitals will not cut up one intersex child every business day to make them resemble normal male and female. And it will mean the Employment Non-Discrimination Bill will finally include protection for gender in the workplace so that you or I can dress and behave how we want. Finally, a unified national movement for gender civil rights will mean an end to that terrible litany of names that we all know. People like Brandon Tina and Marsha P. Johnson. The P stood for Pay It No Mind. Richard Montoya, who was killed by his own father for cross-dressing. Peggy Santiago, who was killed in New York City only 3 blocks from where her younger sister, Jessie, had been killed only 3 years before. And in the last 24 months alone, names like Deanna Faye Williams, Chanel Chandler, Sharika Keys, Ruby Boda, Tasha Dunn, Lauren Page, who was beaten 14 times in the head and then stabbed 60 times until dead, and Kareem Washington, whose assailants hated her so much they not only beat her to death and then stabbed her in a Passaic parking lot, but did not even bother to take her wallet, her watch, or her keys. Finally, it will mean that people like Matthew Shepard and Billy Jack Gaither and PFC Barry Winchell will not be ripped from us because of the perception that gay men are somehow inadequately masculine or gay and lesbian women are somehow insufficiently feminine. I say to you one more time before I leave, there will be a national movement for gender civil rights. You will lead it. It will not be a transgender movement, because gender is not only a trans thing. Gender is a gay thing. Gender is a lesbian thing. Gender is a feminist thing, and gender is a youth thing. Gender rights are human rights, and they are for all of us. Welcome to the Millennium March weekend. Welcome to the new century, and welcome to the new national movement for gender civil rights. Together, you and I are going to change the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ricky. That was fantastic.
Here we go! Ready? Yeah! 1, 2, 3, 4. Have you heard the word is out? We are proud! Yeah! Tell the world we're coming out! We are proud! Hand in hand together we shout! We are proud! We're here! It's here! We are proud! Let me hear you now! We are proud! Say it loud now! We are proud! Really loud now! We are proud! One more time! We are proud! Yeah, you rock! Thanks for being here, you guys!
I know you're gonna love this.
introduce is Reagan Chastain. She is a student at the University of Texas in Austin, who's up for the March weekend. She's 23 years old, and she pioneered the diversity training for the faculty staff at the University of Texas. She's a queer rights activist, and here she is, Reagan.
Good afternoon. I think I need a minute to recover. As long as we're all gonna go ahead and tell about ourselves. I was a 7-year cheerleader, and I think I just screamed myself hoarse for Cheer San Francisco. I'm going to talk a lot about support today, but before I do, I just wanted to say thank you to the person who supported me. We had our commitment ceremony on December 5th. We renewed our vows at the wedding this morning. It's my wife, Jill Chastain. I love you. Thank you. I also want to say what an honor it is to be here and speak with you all today. We are the youth, we are the future, and we are a community in crisis. According to the American Psychological Association, 60% of adolescent suicides are committed by youth who identify as gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender. 60%. The reason that our future, the future of our community, of our country, are choosing to take their lives is because all they hear are the negative messages. They hear that their lives are not valid, that their nature is against God. They hear that they are biological errors. We cannot afford to sit by and watch the fall of our future. We must create our own voice, a voice loud enough to rise above the clamor of the Jerry Falwells, the Pat Robertsons, and the Dr. Lauras. We must support ourselves, and we must support each other. And if we are to create a unified voice, we must first celebrate the diversity of our community. Take a minute to look around the circle today. We are all races and all ethnicities. We all come from different backgrounds. We have different personalities, and each of us has something unique and wonderful to offer to the future of the gay movement. But we must work not as individuals, but as a collective, because they are not attacking us as individuals. They are attacking us as a group. Gays, lesbians, bisexuals, transgendered, and their allies. They are coming for the queers. And make no mistake that when those two men lured Matthew Shepard from that bar, brutally beat him and left him for dead, they were not looking for Matthew Shepard. They were looking for a queer. They were looking for you. When they brutally raped and murdered Brandon Teena, they violated you. When the citizens of California voted that gays and lesbians should not be allowed to legally marry, they called your love invalid. And when states pass laws that gays and lesbians should not be allowed to adopt children, they are calling you and us, all of us, unfit parents. If we are to fight together for any of our civil rights, we must fight for all civil rights for all gay people. I may not ever want to adopt children, but I will not stand by while that right is stripped from me. And I will fight until I die for the rights of gays and lesbians to adopt children. It is not about the specific rights, it is about the principle of basic human rights. Gays are becoming more mainstream. TV provides a ready example. We went from being virtually non-existent to being the quirky neighbor next door, to finally having our own leading roles in television sitcoms. But the more that we become mainstream, and the more that people begin to realize that we're just regular people trying to live a life of dignity, the more those that oppose us will grasp at straws. They will take from us anything they can get, and they will get anything that we allow them to have. And every time we let a young transgender believe that she is simply insane, every time we let a young lesbian believe that she could never be a good mother, every time we let a bisexual believe that he is a biological error, every time we let a gay adolescent take his life for lack of hope, we give our rights away. We must not forget the debt that we owe to those who went before us, the brave men and women who stood their ground at Stonewall and who walked the path that we now walk when it could have meant their lives. But it is time to stand up and take our place beside them at the forefront of the gay movement. Do not let the spirit of this weekend stay here in Washington. Go home and take action. Start a gay-straight alliance. Volunteer for a queer youth organization. Lend a hand, an ear, an example, and a voice to the thousands of queer youth around you who cannot speak out. It is time to accept our roles as leaders in the gay community. It is our time. It is our turn. It is our turn to fight for our dignity, to fight for our civil rights. Our turn to stand up and demand our life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. It is our time to stand up and declare to the world that it will happen in our lifetime, because together we will make it happen. Thank you.
My name's Carolyn Laub. I'm the director of the Bay Area Gay Straight Alliance Network, representing over 100 gay straight alliances in Northern California. We're the largest regional network of GSAs. I'm 25, I'm bisexual, I'm a queer activist, and I'm proud to be here.
Hi, my name is Jenna Tietzman. I'm 22. I work here in DC on website interventions for queer Latino and Latina youth. And I am also so proud to be here.
And my name is Jason Gardner. I'm 19. I live here in DC. I work with the Sexual Minority Youth Assistance League. We work with over 1,000 young people in the DC metro area.
I want to start by saying it's so exciting for me to be here among such fierce queer youth and be part of such a powerful crowd. Unfortunately, a lot of people aren't here today, and they're not here because they're protesting the way this march was organized. And they're protesting for 4 main points. One was that there wasn't a democratic process for the way this march was organized. There was no community mandate. It was a top-down approach. There was a lot of racial and community tokenism, including youth. And marketing dollars have ruled this march. But we're here because we feel like this doesn't need to be a time of division, that this can be a point of growth for the queer movement. A group of activists across the U.S. wrote an incredible, amazing letter that expresses the values of an emerging queer youth movement that's a multi-issue movement. It's a movement focused on social justice. And this letter is a call to action. It's a demand that right now you look around and you think to yourself, who's not here? Who has not been represented on this stage today at this march of all marches? It's a demand that we as youth, as queer youth, take accountability to recognize that our communities are more than this. And in that spirit, Jason is going to read the letter.
Among our nation's monuments for liberty, equality, and justice, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people march on Washington. For many in the next generation, this is our first opportunity to experience a national march. Yet we are faced with conflicting emotions. More important than the experience, this march provides us with an opportunity to ask exactly what kind of march we are inheriting. The LGBT movement does not belong to today's leaders alone. It belongs to tomorrow's leaders as well. We, the next generation of leaders, will be left to either sustain or undo the work that today's leaders have done. Work that affects how LGBT people are thought of in American society and how we think of ourselves. We are our movement's values. What are their values beyond the festivals, beyond the rainbow flags, the fundraising dinners, and the concerts? We, the next generation of activists, join hundreds of thousands of LGBT people who share a commitment to the values and principles of social justice that are the foundation of the movement itself. Each one of us grew up in a homophobic society that taught us to feel alone and isolated. From this isolation, we reach out to each other to build a community and to act together to build a movement. We are our friends, found families, the creators of new traditions and ethics. We are reinventing gender, we act up, and we kiss in. From these experiences, the core values of our movement emerge. Compassion, belief, and commitment to the common good, non-discrimination, political freedom, freedom from violence and harassment, control over our own bodies, and equal opportunity. These values are part of a larger legacy that links justice movements together. But if LGBT organizations act in isolation, our values will be undermined and they will not be realized. A single-minded approach to that attempt to isolate sexual orientation and equality from other struggles limits the movement's agenda so that many move forward while others are left behind. In our own history, eternal battles were fought to recognize some of the movement's most obvious constituents, bisexual and transgender people. Acting as if sexual orientation is a common denominator and not justice makes the movement irrelevant to those of us who cannot or will not act in isolation. LGBT people are the childless elderly, yet lack of social nets for the old is deemed not a gay issue. The nation's commitment to public education, on which LGBT youth and our parents depend, is deemed not a gay issue. LGBT youth disproportionately represent homeless youth in America, yet homelessness is not deemed a gay issue. Employment discrimination for those of us who cannot or will not pass cast us into poverty, yet unemployment, welfare, and Medicaid are not gay issues. LGBT people are more likely to abuse drugs, and this nation's drug policies are increasingly more criminal than intervenist, yet the war on drugs is not a gay issue. Is this framework, we wonder, who is gay? If the LGBT movement acts in isolation, it is blind to the ways which it reinforces inequality. What does it mean to fight for more severe hate crime penalties when we know that in our own current criminal justice system, people of color and people from lower socioeconomic backgrounds make up a disproportionate number of people who are incarcerated and arrested? We believe that the LGBT movement will not move forward without the understanding and the reality of LGBT people's lives, which are not isolated or reducible to a single issue.
We call, it's not over yet, we call on all national LGBT organizations to meet soon after the march to agree upon and then publish how they will institutionalize accountability amongst each other and to individual activists in the movement to ensure that the movement is never again put in the kind of dangerous position generated by the controversy surrounding this march. And we call on ourselves, our movement's organizations, and our movement's visionary leaders to continue the unfinished task of articulating a social justice vision that directs the means and ends of the LGBT movement from a genuine commitment to justice for all. It is time for our movement to resist isolation and act in a larger social justice community where many LGBT people live and where the next generation, our generation, will thrive. What can you do today? Today, we are passing out the copies of this letter. Please read it. If you want to sign it as an individual, head over to the Choose or Lose booth where you can sign on this letter, and you can join over 800 individuals and organizations representing 34 states and the District of Columbia that have already signed this letter. And what you can do when you leave this march this weekend and you go back to your local communities is you can continue to push this issue and engage in dialogue on a local level about what we can do to take this movement to become truly a social justice movement. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, a Native American with HIV, Daryl Joe.
Hey everybody! How you doing? I was at a conference right before I got here on HIV and AIDS in Native communities in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And during the same time, there's one of the largest gatherings of Native Americans in Albuquerque called the Gathering of Nations Powwow. Thousands and thousands and thousands of Native Americans from all over the country were in Albuquerque. 2 o'clock yesterday, 2 o'clock, they set aside so that they could remember all the Native Americans that passed because of HIV. To remember and to recognize Native Americans who were living with HIV, and to recognize Native Americans who were affected by HIV. This is amazing for me because that tells me we're actually progressing in Native communities. deal because I come from a small community in New Mexico. I was born and raised on the reservation. I tested positive in New Mexico when I was 19 years old. There were no resources or anything of the sort that I could tap into. So I drank, I drank, and I did a lot of drugs and felt really sorry for myself, tried to commit suicide a lot of times. But I found myself in San Francisco all of a sudden, I was wandering the streets in San Francisco wondering what the hell am I going to do with my life? And I came to this organization called Native American AIDS Project, and I met a fabulous man by the name of James Abrams. James was the first Native guy that I actually, that I met who was positive. He had AIDS, and he passed a couple of years ago, and if it weren't for that man, I wouldn't be standing here today. So I want to dedicate this moment to my friend and my brother, James Abrams. I was looking for all these excuses to not come, right? Because I was really nervous and wondering what am I going to say to all these people? And I was hoping that I would kind of sleep in late so I would miss my flight. But then it dawned on me, it's like, wow, who's going to come and represent Native Americans? Who's going to come and talk on behalf of Native people all over the country? I was at a conference in CDC last year, and they asked me, Daryl, how can we make an impact on your community and try to increase HIV prevention? My response, don't regard me as an other. Treat me as a person. Look at me and recognize me as a human being, because that's what I am. Thank you guys, and I love you. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the founder and chairman of PlanetOut.com, Tom Riley.
Good morning, everybody, here on the Mall in Washington. I want you to all give up a big cheer for all the young people and old people alike watching at home on C-SPAN and in cyberspace on the World Wide Web. We're here, we're queer, and we have email. Once in a great while, there comes a person who, with a simple act of bravery and courage, changes the world. A quiet witness to the ideals in which we all believe. Someone who takes a leap of faith into the unknown. Our next speaker is one such young man. 20 years ago, when I was in high school, I believed that I was all alone, isolated, that there was no one else like me. So 5 years ago, I started a place on the internet for everyone who had ever felt alone as a lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgendered person. A place where young people in high school could find refuge from their often hostile environments at their high schools. Last July, as I was working at the office, I received an instant message on my computer screen from an unknown address. Thank you, period. It read. For what? I replied. For Planet Out, came the answer. You're welcome, I replied. Who are you? The story I heard was so astounding that I knew in my heart that it had to be true. As I got to know this remarkable young man and his incredibly strong family, my own wounds from high school began to heal. Corey Johnson is this young man. Last April, Corey Johnson decided to come out as an openly gay student at his high school in Massachusetts. His parents, teachers, and counselors were very supportive, but there was still one problem. Corey Johnson was and is co-captain of the Masco High School varsity football team. The first ever in the nation to come out while playing football. Corey called a meeting of his teammates, and as his coach looked on, he began, "Guys, I've got something to tell you." He went on to lead the team in a winning season and played a vital role as the most astounding defensive player I've seen. Now, he has become a tireless student activist, speaking before thousands of students, parents, teachers, and coaches around Massachusetts and around the country. You may have seen him in the Millennium March issue of The Advocate, or actually on the front page of today's Sunday New York Times. Just 2 days ago, he turned 18 years old and will graduate from high school in June. Please welcome my hero, Corey Johnson.
It's my greatest pleasure to be here today and be with all of you. I love you all. My story starts as I was like most everyone else in this audience, a depressed gay teen, not knowing who to turn to, and living my life in despondency. But I reached out for support in my school, and I found teachers, guidance counselors, and community that were accepting of me. I was up to a few faculty members, and I decided I was going to come out to my parents. I told my mother and father that I was gay, and their response was, "We love you unconditionally. You're always our son, and nothing will change that." After a few months, I realized I wasn't going to compartmentalize my life with being true in one area and not in the next. I felt it was my honor to be true to myself and to be true to everyone else in my life and live honestly. 3 months later, I came out to my football team. I called a team meeting and told everyone I had something to tell them. They all thought the meeting was going to be about substance abuse and let's have a clean team. They were in for a surprise. I said, "Guys, I have something to tell you. We've played football for however many years, and I still want you to be my friend. I want to let you know something very important to me. I'm coming out as an openly gay student in this school, and I'd love your support." They were unbelievable. They were supportive the whole way through. I said, all those irrational, illogical fears running through your head, like, is he going to come on to me? I said, I didn't come on to you last year in the locker room, I'm not going to do it this year. I didn't touch you last year in the locker room, I'm not going to do it this year. And who says all you guys are cute enough anyway? My team was astounding. They shattered and broke all the stereotypes that are connotated with a high school football team. They wanted t-shirts from all the gay bars in Boston. And the other co-captain and another team member came to speaking events with me and spoke as a straight ally. The season started, we had a tremendous year. My teammates supported me in every way. They watched my back and they were supportive. One bus ride on the way home, we won the game and we were heading back and they were all singing songs on the bus. And they said, let's be inclusive and sing a song for Corey. Everybody on the bus got up and stood on their seats and started singing the YMCA and It's Raining Men. chant of GSA followed that, and I stood up and bowed. My message to you today is that there are supportive environments out there, ones that I never thought would exist. We have to live our lives truthfully. That is the main message. We cannot be complacent. We have to be brave. All of you are astounding and brilliant, and I love you all. The truth will set you free. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ellen DeGeneres.
Talk briefly, but I want to talk slowly because I just got word that they were expecting 300,000 people and we are over 750,000 people. We are almost into the state of Kansas, I understand. Listen, what do I say here? You've been listening to a lot of people speak about a lot of important things. First of all, I want to mention this, how wild this is for me. First of all, to be here, and what a privilege this is for me to be here, because I wasn't out for the last march, and I sat at home and watched it on TV and cried because I was not a part of a family that I knew I belonged to. Feeling the same way, because you can justify it any way you want to justify it, why you're not out, but it's because you're ashamed of yourself and you've let society beat you down so much that you believe them. But the wild thing for me is that this march is happening 3 years to the day of the airing of the Coming Out episode. I love you too. I think the thing is, and you also, yes. All right, and you. And then that's it. All right, I love all of you. And you right there with the camera. And the woman waving. All right. I think we're kind of preaching to the choir here. We're all sending out these powerful messages, and we all feel the same way. I feel really special. I think people wonder why this is important to have a march like this and to have a celebration. And it's because when you grow up being bombarded with messages, subconsciously or just as blatant as they can possibly be, that there is something wrong with you simply for being gay or for whatever reason, for the color of your skin. If you're bombarded with that, it's hard enough as a human being to have self-respect. It's hard enough to deal with the fear of rejection and approval, and it gets worse and worse and worse as you get older. But it's compounded when you're gay and when you're raised with that for so many years. We need a day like this to overcompensate as much as we possibly can. We need this love and support. Anybody can relate to going to school, going to high school or grammar school and just being tortured by the school bully. And as a gay person, we are bullied by society every single day of our lives. And it hurts. It hurts so bad that sometimes you feel like it's safer to just stay in the closet and live your life and be safe. But there are children out there that are being tortured and killed because we're not visible enough. And I know as a celebrity, the most important thing I'll ever do is to stand up and make a difference for those children who need voices to speak for them. We owe that to them. And I would beg anyone, any celebrity, to please come out. It is the most important thing you'll ever do to save lives. So, I do feel proud that I'm gay. I feel very proud that I'm gay because I feel like I'm on a special spiritual journey that most people don't get to experience. If you're not a minority, you don't have a struggle and you don't have a purpose to your life. You're just going along with whatever your daily routine is. But when you're gay and when you're fighting for something, or you're a person of color and you're fighting for something, your life takes on such a meaning. And there's such a bond that we all have with each other because of that struggle. And that's why we cheer each other, and that's why the parades are necessary, and that's why we need to walk away from this day and spread this. We can't just have this day and you go back to your jobs. People think this is a political thing. It is a political thing. It's still legal to fire people in 38 states just because they're gay. This is political. This is who we are. We are human beings who are being treated as second-class citizens, and we can't do that. We just can't. It's hard because we see so much hate around us, from Dr. Laura to anybody, the picketers. When you see that kind of hate, it is just a blatant absence of love. That's what hate is. It's an absence of love, and it's hard because I feel like I see those picketers and I think, if I were a loving, nonviolent, spiritual person, I would really go over there and grab those signs and smash them over their heads and shove them up their asses. But I'm a loving, spiritual person. I think they give Christians a bad name. They speak volumes. We don't even need to say anything. It's just sad and pathetic, and it's one little family, and we should give them a hug or something. Show them what love is. They don't understand. Poor little people. Poor little sad people. Driving back in their van. We showed them. Right, Mom? Dad? Cousin Joe? Full congregation? All right. I have enjoyed being here. This is once in a lifetime a moment for me, and last night was amazing. I thank you all for your support. Go out there and do that for everyone else in the world so they can see who we are. Be positive role models. Do all the things we're supposed to do. Just show that we're good people, that we're not crazy freaks. All right, show them that we're crazy freaks. I'll tell you something. I know I made a difference for a lot of people and changed a lot of people's lives. It changed my life, and the most important thing that's changed my life is meeting Anne. That is the most important thing. Anne did not ask for this. Anne simply fell in love, and she could have left at any time. This has been 3 years of a hell of a ride, and when she was losing her offers and losing her career that she had established and worked so hard for before she met me, she lost everything. And instead of bailing, she sat down and wrote and directed a movie about same-sex love.
quite who I was. I guess that means the phase is over for me. I'm gay from here on out. As so many of you know the story of my falling in love with Ellen, I spoke very openly and said falling in love was the easiest thing I had ever done in my life. Turning gay was the easiest thing I had ever done in my life. And I think at least half of you went, who is she kidding? And now, having been gay for 3 years, I know how hard it is. And I just want to say, my God, those of you who have done this for your whole lives, you are extraordinary people. You are extraordinary individuals to fight this fight. It is just outstanding. And I know that there are people watching all of this on cyberspace because they don't have the courage to come here. They don't know what it feels like to be out and the freedom that you feel when you do that. So give a big hello to the 22 million viewers watching this at home. We love them too. Come out, come out. As I said, I know my story doesn't compare to you. I've had this journey for only 3 years of my life. And before I fell in love, I had so many gay friends. I was in a group of wonderful, wonderful gay people, and I had no idea what their struggle was. They didn't share it with me. There was fear. There was lack of understanding. They didn't think I would get it. And the truth is, I didn't. Until I myself experienced discrimination, I had no idea what you all go through. Because of that, I want to encourage and say to each one of you, being out is not just a personal freedom. Being out and saying that you're out is an education for straight people. Straight people need to know who you are so they can fight this fight of love with us. Straight people need to know how they can help by just showing up. It'd be really wonderful at the next big reunion with all of us that there are as many straight people with us as there are gay. I'll share a little bit of what I know in my last 3 years. Celebrities get bad press, but I got some really bad press. And you all get really bad press. We love you. Thank you, I love you too. I'm very honored to be a part of this. This is so much better than an Oscar. When they told me that I wouldn't have a career, I don't think they thought I'd ever see this day. I started to believe, and what I think is so difficult for all of us as a gay, bisexual, transsexual community, is that we start believing the bad press. I know I personally started feeling like when people said, you know what, you're not getting a job because you're gay, I shrunk. I started to believe it. I actually would sit in rooms with people where they would be telling me that I could not get a job any longer because I was not an equal to them. And I did not walk out of the room and say, this is completely unacceptable. We have heard so many things today about power and uniting. I want to take or give, and I'll try to do this with you for the rest of my life. I want to give you the opportunity to say to every single person that you encounter, if you are treating me as if I am not equal, that is unacceptable to me. It is the hardest thing in the world to do. But if you are working, playing, in any kind of relationship with anyone and they do not treat you as an equal, you must have the courage to say, that is unacceptable to me. You are all worthy of your love. I'll tell you, somebody said to me last night, came up to me and kind of tugged on my shirt and said, you know what, I thought your movie was really, really great, but none of my friends did because they thought it was so gooey and gross. And I just want to say to you that I only did this because I fell in love and got all gooey and gross, and I couldn't believe that there could be something so powerful as this thing called love. Actually, the only emotion more powerful than hatred is love. So we've got a lot to show people. And I just wish for all of you today and for the rest of your lives that you get to have the lovey, gooey, wonderful, fabulous love that you all deserve and that I have. And thank you for letting me stand in front of you and say
And now, ladies and gentlemen, San Francisco's comedy goddess, Margaret Jo.
Sex with a woman, I went through this whole thing, you know, I was like, am I gay? Am I straight? And I realized I'm just slutty. Where's my parade? What about slut pride? I told my mother about it and she got so excited. She still calls me and leaves messages on my machine. Are you gay? Are you gay? Pick up the phone. If you don't pick up the phone, that means you gay. Only gay screen call. You are gay. You are gay. Why don't you talk to mommy about it? You can talk to mommy about everything. You know you have a cool mommy. Mommy is so cool. And mommy know all about the gay. You know they have so many gay. So many gay all over the world. So many gay. I wish today that we would love ourselves without reservation and love each other without restraint. Unless you're into leather, then by all means use restraint. Today I want to unite our struggle with women and people of color because we're all fighting the same fight, and together we are the majority, and majority rules. Today I promise to register to vote and vote so that in the next election we will have a voice and we will turn our rage and our tears into political power. I believe that a government that would deny a gay man the right to bridal registry is a fascist state. I love you so much. Goodbye.
That was real fascinating footage. Thank you, Jonathan, for taking time out to go out to Washington, D.C. and filming this event. Stanley, would you like to give more information about where QGLU meets and when and how to get in contact with us?
Certainly. QGLU meets the first Tuesday of every month in Jackson Heights at the Community Methodist Church, the corner of 82nd Street and 35th Avenue, room 2. If you want to get in touch with us, our phone number is area code 718-205-6605, or via email at John, John, QGLU, that's QGLU at AOL.com, or via the show at QGLU, that's QGLU2000 at AOL.com. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Hope to see you again soon. Thank you. No, don't make me do whatever.